the sound in my body, I could feel this energy coming like up my spine and through my torso, and it came out my arm.
Hi, and I would like to welcome Megan to the show today. Megan, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
I am so glad and so appreciative of you coming on here and sharing your story and your time with me. So thank you very much for that.
Pleasure.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna start out. Now this was a Kundalini awakening, but what I would sort of like to know and what I usually start out asking people is a little bit of just about your spiritual background, like growing up. Like were you in an atheist family? Were you like ultra conservative? So talk a little bit about that, like what your background.
So I grew up Roman Catholic, very much from a really practicing family. And they still are. My family, who are on the east coast of Canada, are definitely still very dedicated and very involved. I'm living far from them now, and I let that go years ago, but I stayed on a very curious and very much a seeker. So, and I mean, but I was seeker in the sense that I still stuck to sort of traditional lines. Like I believed in, I was checking out Eckhart Tolle. I was checking out sort of the more the Indian traditions, like, and sort
Mm-hmm.
of wondering. But my quest was really to have more of an experience, to experience what I had heard about all those years in church, and not just talk about it. And I just was surprised that people didn't really seem to have experiences, and so that's what turned me off, that there was no experience.
Yeah.
So, but I saw it for many years and looked and looked. I still do.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that because I also grew up Roman Catholic in a very Roman Catholic practicing family. And I just, for me, and it sounds a bit like you can relate, like I just didn't get anything from the mass. Like I kind of enjoyed the sermon because it was different and, he could relate to life and things. But the rest is nothing but like 45 minutes of ritual.
Yeah, just being told and talked to and talked at.
Hmm.
And I thought, that's it. This is what this is. So I looked for experience, and I had interesting experiences, but they were within me.
Mm.
And so it kept me in the narrow line of, I believe maybe there were some people that could have experiences, but you had to be, it was a pretty rare individual. So when I had my experience, I was just like, wow, okay, that changes everything.
Wow. Okay. So,
Mhm.
um, so was there anything so you said you sort of just out of pure curiosity kind of got into reading like some of the Eastern traditions about how old were you when you started sort of
I
realizing
mean,
that?
in like late adolescence, and I'd always wanted to go to India, and I did finally go, but it was only in recent years, and even then that was pre, really understanding or really having a big experience. So I would just sort of follow those, but nothing was sticking.
Hmm. You mean nothing
Um,
was sticking as far as like even the Eastern things, like as far as
yeah,
what you're reading?
in terms of becoming a real dedicated practitioner.
Hmm.
And I think having the discipline to stick to what was coming up as a path, but I would still kind of revert back to, okay, let's just check out all these options. There's no way I'm going to be getting up at sunrise and meditating for an hour every day, an hour before I go to bed, even though people are saying that's what you could do.
Hmm.
But it wasn't working with my lifestyle, so I just kept looking.
Mm. Yeah, I agree with you as well. I again, um, back at least when I was growing up, there was no internet, there was no YouTube. All that there were these books, and they were kind of vague and, like you said, they almost seemed to have their very like strict sort of rules and regulations and traditions and things like that. Is that kind of what you felt?
Well, yeah, Eckhart Tolle, I would read his stuff and go, wow, like, how did he get there? How did that happen? Like, how does he know this? And
Yeah.
Byron Katie. people that had books and experiences, and I felt they were amazing, but it wasn't for me. I mean, it
Hmm.
still isn't. I'm not there at all, but at
Hmm.
least, I've understood it more, that it's more accessible for people than I thought for years and years and years.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this show was basically just to reach other people and just sort of let them know like this is accessible. Like
Mhm.
that's the important thing. Like you don't have to be in a cave or meditating 12 hours a day in order to change your life and feel that like these
Mhm.
type of things that and I think some people are more open for it. I mean, it sounds like you actually had a uh pretty quick awakening. So tell me how this started. Like, what was there a book you read that sort of demonstrated how to get into this meditative process that you were doing, or was it more self-experimental?
Well, I have to say that it was funny. The spring of last year, I said to my son, or I said to my kids, I said, "This is the year of spiritual awakening." And my
Yeah.
son said, "Isn't that every year, Mom?"
He's right in a way.
Yeah, isn't that every year? But I said, "No, this year is going to be different. I'm going to get somewhere." And anyway, so I listened to different podcasts, and I ended up going down a rabbit hole and hearing this podcast when I was on an airplane, and I was blown away. And then when I got off the airplane, I looked it up, and it turns out that the person being interviewed actually had a retreat center not too far away from me. And
Hmm.
so lo and behold, I sign up. They had a cancellation. I was at that retreat center the next Friday. So it was
Wow.
within 4 days, I was all of a sudden at this intensive I am retreat. I don't know if you've ever heard of those.
I
It's the
have.
Charles Burner method.
Oh, this is
Um,
new to me. Okay, so I am not familiar with. Is that who it was? Like, was it Charles Burner or was it actually a different
a different person who
teacher?
had
Okay.
modeled the retreat on his method. And so they
Oh,
were,
interesting. So tell me
and
about this method. I've never, this is completely new to me. What is it kind of rings a bell like I've read it or sort of grazed past it at some point. So what is it? The Charles?
I think it's Burner, Berner, I believe. I'm gonna have to double
Okay.
check that. But it is considered a direct path. I think a direct path.
Hmm.
No, it's a path in order to have a direct experience. That is the focus, and to sort of see if participants will have a direct experience during this 48-hour time period.
Hmm.
And I mean, and I would say about 50% of the people actually did. So
Wow.
what happens is we gathered, and then in partners, in dyad groups, we ask each other the question. There's a certain amount of meditation, but then we go into these 40-minute exchanges where you say to the person facing you, "Tell me who you are." And the person just fills that space, and you do not respond. So you're just looking at them the entire time, and you start to say who you are.
Hmm.
And it's not, I'm a teacher, I'm a mom, I'm a sister. You start to drill down, and you get
Hmm.
exhausted. You get
Yes.
exhausted. So by the end of for like when you're sleeping and eating, like there's nothing weird about it.
Yeah.
But by the end of the first 24 hours, I had a direct experience. I had a glimpse, a Kensho, and
Okay.
that was incredible.
Yeah, that you know what? That's pretty. I've never heard of that particular way as far as sitting down with someone and asking the questions. But interestingly enough, I don't know if have you ever heard of Rupert Spira?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he talks about that, and that was actually one of the things that got me going. Was it was just like, he would ask somebody who they were, and they would just say, "Well, my name's Bill," and he'd be like, "No, that's your name. I'm a teacher." "Well, no, that's your job." And he would just do this, and this guy was like literally getting frustrated, and I thought, "Wow, that's true." You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
incredible. Okay, so I'm sorry. When did this happen? You said about a year or two ago?
It was in July 2023. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so really recently. Okay, so you're in this environment and you're going back and forth with an individual
You
and
switch partners all the time. So
okay.
you do a 40-minute period with one partner, and there was about 18 of us there. And so you would just change with different people, just switch it up. and sitting facing face to face
Yeah.
in two chairs.
So the other person, do they respond to you or no? They just stare at you.
You would, yeah, they just look at you and they're blank. So, which
Interesting.
allows you to, you know, because when people react, that's when you may shut down. It may, but they're supposed to remain as poker face as possible, but compassionate.
Interesting. This is fascinating. Okay,
It's
so
fascinating.
all right, so you're there. What happens next? What describe like right before the experience and then take me into the actual experience.
Well, that was like the Saturday night, and we're all getting very tired and very tired. It's very
Hmm.
exhausting. And I mean, the experience itself, my reaction to it, like this is part one, because part two was the next day. But
Great.
the part one was saying to a person, my partner, I said, we had gotten to a point where he said, tell me who you are. And I was empty. And I just said, I am awareness. And the guy who ran the retreat, who runs the retreat, he's actually really well known and amazing. He's an amazing person. He
You
said,
can
who
share it
is
if
that?
you want. Who was it? Whose
It's
retreat was
Dan
that?
Schmidt, who is for the Awaken the World.
Oh,
He
I
yeah,
I've heard of him. Okay, I definitely heard of Awaken the World. That's interesting. Okay. Continue. I didn't mean to
that's
interrupt you, but I was like,
yeah,
I mean,
no, it's
I have
his
no
retreat
problem with
center.
people watching other people's in fact, I
Yeah.
want people to try any path they can. So go ahead.
Well, he doesn't, he's high, like his films are just masterpieces and they've been watched by millions of people, you
Mm,
know. Um, so anyway, so he was next to me and facilitating. He said, who is that awareness? And of course, Dan has had an abiding, profound awakening. He is a person who walks on this earth with another, he knows.
hmm.
And he said that to me, and I tell you, I had what they call a glimpse. And I've heard that, you anybody who tries to explain it hasn't had it, and I got to say that that's exactly where it fits. That it's you can't actually put words to it.
Yes.
Um, and that was just it was an energetic response that I had that made me burst out laughing. And I think that was what was just so wonderful. It was so funny. Like it just made me cry and laugh at the exact same time. And it was
Okay.
just the knowledge that is closer than your thoughts. We always know it's closer than our thoughts. It is
Hmm.
closer than our thoughts. And
Right.
that's the crazy part, that we don't know that. Or I don't know that anyway. Maybe people do, but it's hard
Yeah.
to stay in touch with that. So
Right.
that was just a quick, but I like it. That changed that changed everything. And the next day was when I had the physical Kundalini.
Interesting.
So
Okay, so the first, stage was almost like an innate knowing and a touch, maybe we could say. Would you say that? I mean,
it's the glimpse.
yeah, the glimpse. Okay. Okay, so
Hmm.
you have that, and then I
Hmm.
guess then what happened? You just went to bed, I guess, since it was late.
Well, I was, I you're just sort of
Mm,
like it just stops you. It just
mm,
stops you in everything,
mhm.
because it's just so incredibly such an incredible revelation
Yeah. The world becomes a
that
completely different place, doesn't it?
yeah, for me, but I was just like, what the and then you just kind of stop and you're just blown away and you're just trying to figure out
Mhm.
what's next, right?
Yeah,
Like his life is now, everything's off, it's just like, wow, okay, now things are starting.
right.
Anyway, but you go back. I mean, I ate my dinner, I didn't sleep well, I was still tossing and turning, and I was just like, what the heck? I was like still seeking. Like I was seeking right
Mhm.
away afterwards for me. And then it was the next morning when we were in the dyads again. And then I had a physical Kundalini experience. And I've heard that actually comes after a glimpse. It will always be followed by that.
Interesting. Okay,
Mhm.
so I I mean I know it's difficult, but could you explain, explain the physical aspects of what you were going through, and then if you can, sort of what was happening, up here.
So the next morning, this is before breakfast, we are in our dyad groups. We meditated and now we were in dyad groups. And I remember I had a strong feeling I wanted to sit on the floor. and I wanted to breathe, and I wanted the pranayama to be, I don't know, it was just like it was coming naturally that I really felt like a breathing. I needed to focus on my breathing. And so my partner spoke, and I continued to focus on my breathing and on her. And then when it was my turn to speak, I at one point, I don't know if I have been speaking or not, but I just said, I am a vessel. And at that moment, like I'm sitting there and I was just like shaking. And I said to myself, just allow this. I think that's what I said. I said, just allow, like, and I mean, there were people in the room and they could see that what I was experiencing was like something, unusual. It was something beyond me. It wasn't just, me deciding I'm going to shake. It was literally coming through my body, and people had to wait for it to be finished before they could go to breakfast, kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't last long, but it was at the end of that period. So, it was like, okay, we have to, we're giving space for everybody. And that was the space. And then one of the facilitators came over to me and he said to me, tell me who you are. And because that was the line. And I said, I am peace, you know, and that was true. I am peace. And then, to me, that changed everything in my world because I had a physical proof that it's not just in my head, all of these experiences that I've had up to this point. It really was
Mhm.
physical. So
Yes, that is sort of like that does help confirm. Like I'm just not making this up. Uh, yeah, like I
it's my own
actually have.
personal psychology doing my thing.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
was, you know, and it
So,
feels like,
so was it a
yeah,
vibration? Did it kind of feel like a
yeah,
vibration?
it was like it felt like a hurricane in your body. It was just an absolute vibration. It was just an energy that just arrived in my body and came out. I mean, I never, ever have experienced anything like that or since. But it only went to my arms and went out. So it did not go to my heart, throat, and I know lots of people get more. So
Hmm.
that's what I got. And it didn't bother me. Like it didn't change it didn't, I know people have had psychotic episodes after these types of things. It didn't do that to me. It didn't destabilize me in a bad way at all. It
Interesting.
was,
Okay.
it was,
Yeah. I mean, maybe you were just ready, or maybe it just didn't complete itself.
yeah.
Uh,
And I think in some ways it's all I needed, that's all
mhm.
that I need right now, or maybe ever.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear
It's,
you. I think
mhm.
even in these type of experiences, it's just what we need at that time.
Yeah. I mean, I have sought to continue with it and to see what would happen, but I'm kind of putting that to rest. I don't have expectations about that now.
Hmm.
It's like, this is
Well,
fine. I got it.
yeah, well, that's good because I mean, that may change, but at the same
Mhm.
time, I don't think you want to chase it like another thing that the ego wants,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
yeah, so that's really beautiful. It's incredible when things like this happen because it's almost like you're that true self and your body just sort of have an innate knowing, okay, this is enough right now. Like this is what I need. This is where I am, and not end up chasing like we do everything in our life is was chase. It's always about the chase. It's always the next thing that comes up, that dangling carrot in front of us that we're always chasing. And I know some people unfortunately do end up doing the same thing uh with spirituality and these type of experiences too. So that's pretty amazing. So you have this experience, and did you sort of continue with the retreat, or did you go and like,
Retreat finished that afternoon. So
okay, so just
that
in
was it.
time.
Just, yeah, got that done.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I'm done. Let's move
But I
on.
mean, when I got back, like I was a little bit, I was afraid I was going to lose it because, I was afraid that I was going to lose this feeling. And
Hmm.
yeah, lo and behold, my regular neural network popped back in,
Hmm.
but I did have like a period of time of incredible, just a complete lack of fear and anxiety, just like your general living. Like I just had a complete groundedness and
Mm.
it was just wonderful. And I, like I said, for me, I was thankful to have that short time with that, because I know that there's
Hmm.
people who live this all the time. And so I'm just, it came and went in a lot of ways, but parts of it have stayed for sure.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I think when something like this happens, it's not like you can forget it, or it's not like it just fades like a dream, right?
Yeah. Uh,
Hmm.
to me, it's almost as if I'd seen somebody walk on water, or if I'd walked on water.
Oh, wow, that's a great analogy.
Like after that happens, you're like, okay, like everything is possible right now. I've seen it, like things that I thought were not, it's like everything is on the table now. And so that's changed how I see things. Like I'm way more open to people who channel, for example. I'm
Hmm.
much more open to the whole psychic clairvoyant thing. Like I think people actually, I wouldn't have believed that before, but now I'm like, okay, this is possible.
Yeah, I agree because I'm kind of the same way because when you realize that we're all just these energetic clumps, I guess, in this whole world of energy. Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't it be possible? It does, it really expands your mind.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Expands your mind. That's
hmm.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
So
me, it took the lid off.
yes, yes, that's a good
Mhm.
analogy. Um, so were you in a state of, was it sort of euphoric, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, immediately after, I felt like I'd had 100 workouts at once. Like that was the feeling that I had just done 100 in one moment, and it was just incredibly refreshing, and I felt rejuvenated beyond belief. But afterwards, it was, it's so exciting.
Yeah.
It was just this excitement that, like, guess what, everybody, not that I'm telling everybody, but the people who
Hmm.
wanted to listen, like, we got nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah.
There is a, we got, there is, this is a big deal what's going on here.
Hmm.
And, we're going to be okay because we're not alone.
Hmm. Yeah. So did you come, I don't know if you're married, did you come home and tell like
Yeah.
your husband or?
Yeah, yeah. Husbands and kids, they were all husbands, they were all very open to it. I mean, they're not on the path like me, but
Uh-huh.
they said, "Oh, that's great, Mom. I'm so happy for you," and
Yeah.
everyone's happy for me, and that was fine.
Hmm.
But it
Well,
still
that's great
remains
that
very
you,
personal.
yeah, that's great that you have an open-minded family and that they've been able to sort of handle that little bit of change probably that you've had. I know I've heard a lot of stories of the opposite where, somebody's changed and the significant other's just like, they're still way down here and you're up here and the vibrations just are not syncing. So that's great that they're open-minded enough to do that. Now, have you ever shared it with anybody else?
Closest friends,
Hmm. Do you have
but
anyone look at you like like
yeah,
you
like,
did? Like you need to go to the mental home right now type of
well, it's
look?
funny because one of my friends is a yoga teacher, and I was trying to sort of say, like, I had like this Kundalini, and Kundalini is technically one of the goals of yoga.
Hmm.
But I think she was skeptical. Thinking, okay,
Yeah.
all right, fine, I won't go there if you don't really want
Yeah.
to hear about it. But this is kind of a big deal. But
Right.
it never got mentioned again. And I was like, okay, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
it's interesting too. And you may or may not be aware, but the whole principle of yoga is not just the body movement. It's a whole study. It's very similar in a way to, a lot of those Eastern religions like Buddhism and Hinduism and things like that.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. There's 8 limbs.
Hmm.
There's not, it's not just not your
Just
asanas.
well, yeah, I know. I think in the U.S., particularly in the West, it's just we look at yoga and it's just all about the body movement and the stretching, and that's it. That's what yoga is, and
Mhm.
that couldn't be farther from the truth. So it's yeah,
Absolutely.
but I mean it's healthy and yeah, but I know some people just and I just look at it like it's okay. Like, they're just not, there and it's okay. That's just where they're supposed
Of
to be. That's their
course.
path. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I got some looks too though, by the way. It was
So you've had that experience.
yeah, pretty similar. It was when I look like I didn't realize it was like a Kundalini at the time, and I still kind of a back and forth about calling it a Kundalini, but it basically, I thought my head was going to explode, and I actually did think I was going to die. Like it was that intense. It was really, mine was really scary. I was
See, that's
really
what I want.
scared. Yeah, yeah, it was really terrifying.
Uh-huh.
Um, because your body definitely goes into the whole fight or flight, and it thinks it's your whole identity collapses, and then it's like it's pretty scary. It was for me. I know some people have like total euphoria, but
Yeah,
I did not have any euphoria. The euphoria came, but not after like about an hour of especially about 15-20 minutes of sheer panic. So
yeah.
it was pretty crazy.
Well, I
But
think that's really common. Yeah, when it goes
yeah,
all the way up. Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty intense.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's great. Now, about as far as like your, did it affect anything else in your life, like your work life, your personal life? Have you seen changes there?
No, I mean, it only turned me in the direction of one sort of type of teaching, which I'm really enjoying now. And I think
Hmm.
that that was, I wouldn't have been open to that before, but that, and it's actually, I don't know if you know of Paul Selig. He is, he's a channeler, but he's written these amazing, he doesn't write them, he takes dictation, but I wouldn't have been open
Hmm.
to that before, but I find that what he's bringing out into the world is really resonating with me. So I've gone in that direction.
That's interesting because yeah, it is, we had just talked about it earlier, but it is interesting because in my past life, I looked at those people like they were just like
Yeah,
loonies, and
yeah,
now, especially when I hear like what they're actually saying, there's this like sort of innate knowing in me, like that really resonates with me. That's feels very true. So, okay, so I have another question for you. So, we had chatted a little bit beforehand through texting, and you said one of the quotes you said, which I loved, was you said it shifted my world forever in terms of opening up to the mystery of what is going on here. And by here, you mean life as a human on this planet. So, um, I know we talked about it a little bit, but what did you mean by that shift? Like, can you describe it
yeah. I mean,
in
for
that viewpoint?
me, it just really came down to the fact that, I mean, one thing is before this, I didn't want my kids to have kids. I honestly thought that the future of the planet is just too bleak. And I was totally, thinking that we shouldn't be having more children. Like things are looking really grim.
Hmm.
And now, like those types of things, I'm just like, you know what, we're going to be okay. That the planet is going through a lot,
Hmm.
but that we are all where we're supposed to be, and we, are going to make mistakes. But that overall, this is what it is supposed to be. And there's a huge, not so much a plan, but we're
Hmm.
all part of a system. We're all part of something really big,
I,
and it's good.
I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. I think I heard a great analogy, and they said, in order for things to really change, you have to see the big picture. You have to know you have to be able to see the negatives, and quote unquote negatives about what's going on. And it does seem sort of like there is an uprising of sort of like that heavier, denser energy that's sort of almost in a panic because
Yeah,
so much is changing for the like I said, for the better around them, but all of a sudden you're shining a light on all those dark places that had never been seen, and all of a sudden they are coming to light, and it is scary, and it
yeah,
is sort of like you see this, oh my God, like what's happening to the world. But you know what? You and I couldn't have conversations like this even 10 years ago without
yeah,
being like really ostracized. But it's becoming more and more common. It's almost mind-blowing since I started doing this, which has only, been a pretty short time, of how many people out there are really sort of seeing the things that you and I are seeing. And and how the
Yeah.
world is changing, and this amazing new insight, you know.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, I shouldn't say
Oh,
it's a new insight. It's a very ancient one
yes.
insight.
It's shared. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
incredible. So, so what do you think is the best thing that's happened through all this for you?
For me personally, it has been finding these, the work of Paul Selig. That has been my saving sort of grace in all of this. And it's been incredibly hopeful to me, to sort of read those books and to feel like they deeply, resonate with me because it gives such hope. And it just says, hold on, but everything is going to be fine,
Hmm.
and it always has been.
Yes.
And like I just think that's changes so much because I'm also like I'm a college teacher, and when I see my students, my 18, 19-year-old students, and all of their futures in front of them, like I can stand there and go, everything's gonna be okay. Like I can sort of, give that energy to them. And I think that I'm thankful for that, that I can have feel that way.
That's
And I
really
think that's
beautiful.
helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, absolutely. And then did you what do you think maybe might be the most difficult, if anything? Was there any difficulties that you found or?
Well, certainly in my own life, there's no difficulties associated with this. It's only been positives. Um, yeah, I guess the only thing is not being able to totally share it with everybody. People, we're not all on the same page on this.
Hmm.
And I'm sure we will become more and more on the same page, but I have to mute it. I have to mute it because there's no
Right.
point, people
Yeah,
can't hear things.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's it is. That's in day-to-day work. But that's the beauty, people criticize technology a lot and everything. And, like anything else, it has its positives and its negatives. But at the same time, it's great that people are able to share like we're sharing now and do these type of things and get the message out there for people that do want to hear, you know?
Exactly, exactly.
Because
Yeah,
otherwise it's like talking to a side of beef because it's nothing's going to change. So if you don't want to hear it
yeah,
like you said, it's just not going
yeah.
to happen, right?
And
Okay,
that's
so
that's good.
it's okay, I'm okay with
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
But I'm like you, but I feel this innate that desire to just want to share and
Yeah,
tell because I was there and I think you were there, like it's like there's got to be more, like there's got to be more. I'm not understanding something here. And I think we all as human beings sort of have that innate, and that's why we chase so many things, but we're told by society everything is outside of us, and the happiness
yes,
is always going to be in the next thing you buy, the next thing you eat, the next thing you drink, the next thing you listen to. And so we're constantly chasing. And I just, my one of my earliest thoughts after my experience was like, God, everybody needs to figure this out and see that this is the reality. This is why we're always miserable, because we're being told, hey, what you want, it's over here and it's over there, and then it's in this thing and it's in that thing. And it's so not true, you
yeah.
know? Hmm.
And
So,
yeah, and I also think the biggest challenge is recognizing that people that I don't necessarily agree with or admire, that they're still 100% on their path, and that
mm-hmm.
there's nothing to fear in them, and that all you can do is just send them positive energy and to just accept them. And that's it. That's the biggest challenge, but it is the only way to go.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're totally on the same wavelength. I feel the same way. It's just that's they can't help it in a way. I mean, that's just where they are. That's their path, and you hope and pray and you send them positivity that things will change, and that's really all you can do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hmm. So I got another question for you here. So, what is God now to you after that experience?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I I I tend to stay away from the word God also because I mean, it's still, because I don't want to turn anybody off in my world,
Hmm.
so
Well,
I'd say source.
the problem is we're conditioned. God is the old man with the
Yeah.
staff, with the lightning bolt, and casting, or
Yeah.
making, the decisions for us, and yeah.
Yeah. So I source,
Mhm.
universe, universal energy. What is it? Well, certainly, I mean, I listen to lots of podcasts, and it is the awareness which is within all of us.
Mhm.
And, we can only, it's within us, and we can only try and be more ourselves. Becoming more ourselves is exactly what awareness wants us to do. And that even the blemishes that we have are perfect. They're blemishes, and to accept that, even though it's hard, but just to kind of keep that in mind. So to me, it's better, bigger than anything we can ever comprehend while we're humans. And all we can do is have glimpses and seek to do, be kind and to be open and accept and to not be afraid. Don't add more fear to the world.
So that is really beautifully put. I love that actually. Okay, so any last messages for anybody that might be tuning in, maybe people that are curious about this or sort of uncertain? What would you say to them?
Well, I mean, I had a huge experience after going on the Awaken the World website. I would totally recommend that as a path. And they have online retreats now, and not so much in person, but anything along those lines are incredibly powerful and could very well change your life. And that there is something to be found. There are experiences to be experienced. It's not all in our heads all the time.
That's great. All right. Well, hey, thank you so much for
Thank you,
joining me
Jeff.
today. I really loved our conversation, and I wish you the best.
Well, it's been fun. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Take care. Hi, everyone. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like and subscribe and help this channel grow. Thank you so much for your support, and I appreciate and love every single one of you.